Hello, hello. Um, Welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XIV. Let's delve right back into this Palace of the Dead here. The floor set layout is going to change. The scenery is going to be different. Conceptually, though, it will not change. Come on. You know what? I should have bought some proper food for this. You want food with high vitality, high direct hit, because otherwise you can't direct hit inside. Now, obviously, same rules still apply as before. We don't need to kill everything. We can just kill the bare minimum and look for silver chests. Trying to think what theme is this a remix of in game? I know it's a remix of something. I guess it's a remix of the Heavensward theme, isn't it? The Heavensward battle theme. I don't think there's going to be any major cutscenes after floor sets. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I actually had cutscenes on for 51 to 100. I know we'll get one at 100. We might even get several at 100, but I don't honestly remember. I wish I did. I guess I could have prepared for this Let's Play. I could have done an entire playthrough of the game, planning things out and writing things down. I could have, you know, noted exactly how much time each cutscene takes. I could have mapped out, you know, my recording time for every single episode beforehand. But, well, for me, you know, uploading to YouTube, it's strictly hobby right now. I wouldn't mind getting big, you know. I just don't think I ever will. Not only that, just, you know, there's so many channels out there that put in so much more work into their editing and to their content. And they write like, you know, 38,000 word scripts or whatever, and, you know, talk at length for an hour and 50 minutes about, you know, like intellectual topics, political topics, video game topics. You know, this is just a Let's Play of an MMO, which Apparently MMOs still leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Which, I mean, I guess I understand. I always sort of understood why. You know, a lot of people don't want to, you know, subject themselves to basically what amounts to, you know, paying a subscription so you can have to compete and face, you know, mild criticism or ridicule in an online environment. Though honestly, as far as MMOs go, especially compared to older MMOs, Final Fantasy XIV to me feels like it is incredibly anti-social or asocial, even. The gameplay itself, you know, is fast-paced, despite the fact that the people like to say that play other MMOs that the combat is slow. It's not. They're tucking out their dumpers. The you know, the itch, like the problem is that you know, even only getting the press button every 2.5 seconds with, you know, a few buttons every few minutes in between, right? You know, the stuff that's actually happening to you versus your reaction time. For a lot of people, you know, it's faster than they can react. It's faster than they can, you know, take note of. And if that wasn't true, then everyone who played World of Warcraft that came to this game, you know, would never die to anything. They would just be like, oh, this is, you know, I'm basically Lightning McQueen or the Flash. Everything seems slow and I never get hit by anything, right? Like, that's just not how it is. But, you know, in older MMOs, the design was such that, you know, you set your guy up to attack or whatever, and outside of active spell casting, which usually had long cast times of several seconds, you couldn't, you know, like, couldn't really speed combat up too much. So you had time, even in the middle of combat, to type. And as typing is the main method of communication in-game, you know, that's how, you know, you socialize within game. Plenty of people use Discord and Ventrilo and other, you know, VoIPs to chat in MMOs once they find a group. But, you know, the initial find of the group, you know, I guess nowadays it doesn't have to happen in game. You know, we got all sorts of social medias, like people put out, you know, threads on like Reddit and Twitter looking for, you know, static members or looking for free company members. You know, you got the official forum for the game. You got older Final Fantasy forums that, you know, also support or talk about Final Fantasy XIV, where you can, you know, advertise and say, hey, come join me and play, right? So, like, modern day MMOs, they sort of suffer in a way because the socialization aspect is removed, right? Like, by the gameplay itself, which is strange, right? Because, you know, the appeal of an MMORPG is the fact that you can go into the game and really socialize, you know, really get to know people. And I'm not saying you can't do that. You can obviously do that still. It's just you can't do it simultaneously with the gameplay. Like, I can't I can't go into a trial roulette and start fighting the boss and be like, oh, hey, how are you? That's a cool glamour, you know. Like, the combat and the socialization aspect are separate. Whereas in... Oh, we got a cutscene. I'll stop yakking. The art of true resurrection. A challenge even in this world, it would seem. The traitor's spurn seemed promising, but inevitably renders the subject undead. The magics of Gridania proved equally ineffective, only pulling souls back from the brink of death, unable to reach beyond the veil. It's like a lich. Got the cloak and the skeleton hand. I also heard ogre battle music go in there. That was totally ogre battle music. That's weird. I guess that echoes the first floor set, you know, 1 to 10, where after the fifth room or whatever, we had a cutscene where Edda was like, you know, sneaking up behind us and being like, you know. But yeah, so, like, you know, this game has a large role-playing community, mostly carried over from older MMORPGs. And, you know, like, you could role-play in a dungeon. I've seen people try to do it, but you couldn't really, without, like, seriously disrupting the combat flow, you know, you couldn't actually role-play during a fight. Alright, like, and without you know, using voice software that's outside of the game, you know, in-battle communication is very risky, or, you know, cuts into performance. Whereas in the first Final Fantasy Online, I mean, it depended on your job, obviously, but for the most part, you could just engage, and then you had about, depending on your gear and, you know, like what era we're talking, you know, you had like anywhere from a few seconds to, you know, as long as like half a minute to just yak. And when that half a minute or whatever was up, that's when you got to do your one weapon skill, you know. And then maybe the monster would be dead or not, but you know, you could go back to just chatting. So the XP parties that were really grindy and whatnot, like, yeah, the grind took a while, but you could literally make friends while you were grinding and just talk and have a conversation about something. And it was also very easy to alt-tab and just watch videos or, you know, watch TV while you were playing. For as grindy and as difficult as it could also be incredibly laid back. Whereas even the simplest fights in Final Fantasy XIV here, like, I might be able to kill one enemy at a time in here with auto attacks, but, you know, it would take like 45 seconds, and, you know, I would still have to dodge stuff. So, you know, it's more, the combat is more involved. And it's involved to the point where you really can't get away with some people, they don't think about that. You know, they don't think about that, and that's why they are willing to talk in the middle of, you know, when they should be fighting. Others just don't care. Like, I guess it would be nice to kind of not care, but I don't know. Also, these are Final Fantasy XI monsters. These pots, get a lot of memories with these pots. Zillart relic, Zillart automatons, and always magical. Magical pots, and usually capable of the highest black magic. And the ones in the Shrine of Rue Avital in Final Fantasy XI dropped Red Mage testimonials. Weak to blunt damage, and I wish they had incorporated stuff like that into this game, where, like, you know, certain monster families were weak to certain damage types, and like they could have even incorporated it into raid bosses under the auspices of the fact that because you can level everything, you know, if you're a raider, you should have everything leveled, so that, you know, if this one raid boss is like weak to, say, blunt damage, everyone has monk leveled, you can go monk, you know. Or as many people as possible as you can afford to go melee can go monk. Like a boss is weak to slashing, you know, you can have a team of ninjas and samurais. But they don't and won't do something like that for the simple fact that, one, people like to, you know, main jobs, but also because if they did, then people who, you know, aren't willing to level every job or multiple jobs would be at an extreme disadvantage. Plus, you'd have to code the attributes into each enemy or whatever. And then also, I mean, every tank has slashing style weapons, so tanks would be at an extreme disadvantage damage-wise, because unless it was weak to slashing, you know, they just would always be doing a neutral. They wouldn't have any bonus. Now they used to have damage type debuffs that you applied, like a damage over time effect, where, you know, like warrior and samurai and ninja all used to be able to put slashing resistance down on enemies, which would make everyone who dealt slashing type damage do 10% more damage. And, you know, this included the other tanks, you know, any other samurais or ninjas. Pretty cool. Monk had one for blunt, and Dragoon had one for piercing, and that made Dragoon highly sought after because the ranged jobs couldn't do that. They are piercing style type damage, but they couldn't do their own debuff. So everyone almost always brought a Dragoon just for that. And in Shadowbringers, they got rid of all that. And in Stormblood, they toned down the piercing debuff to 5% to make it less important. But now they've just gotten rid of it so that they don't have to take it into consideration when they balance the meta. Which, honestly, I hate. I hate the lack of complexity. People refer to it as homogenization, and I guess that's true. Just refer to it as that, but really it's just they dumbed the game down. They dumbed the game down every single expansion so far. And the game suffers for it. You know? Okay. they appeal to a wider audience, right? They appeal to more people. They're giving people an easier time. But at the same time, like, it's a subscription-based game. So at the same time, they drive away people who have been playing the game for years. Like, I know a few people, not very many, but a few people who just up and quit the game because of the changes they made in Stormblood. And I also know a few people who have quit because of the changes they made in Shadowbringers. Right? And like, this is like, but like the people I know that did this, that quit, it's like 1 or 2 people, right, per expansion. And I've made friends, I guess, roughly, I don't know, like 4 or 5 different groups of people. And they range in size. My friends list on my main is huge, but I talked to maybe 12 or 13 people on it. Alright, that's a new Pomander. Pomander of Raising. That gives us the re-raise effect. It raises the first party member to get KO'd. And when you're alone, that's you if you die. Pretty useful for us. But not necessary right now. Always a good idea when you're solo at really high floor sets. Especially if you're, on a bad floor that you can't, that like you need a Serenity for, but you can't otherwise dispel. This particular floor set we're on, 51 to 60, it's considered to be the fastest floor set to do. And you've noticed that we've gotten experience points, like 380,000 for completing a floor set. I believe completing this floor set gives about roughly 500,000. And in a group of 4, you can complete this floor set within like, 10 to 15 minutes. And I think the fastest I've seen it completed is like 8 minutes. It's just like really good luck on, getting to go to the next floor and having people that are really on point. And so people will literally run this floor set over and over again with, within the duty finder. To level. They'll use this as a leveling procedure, as a grind. Personally, I don't like doing that. It is a quick method, or at least it was at one point in time. Like when Palace of the Dead was new, like queuing for this floor set was basically instant, even if you were on DPS. So that's what a lot of people would justify. It was like instant DPS queue, And at the time, 60, you had all your skills by 60, so it was play your entire job, instantly in the queue. And also, in these floor sets, they included music from every Heavensward dungeon, but also every Heavensward event. So, like, this theme is like the Go-Go, something Rangers. It's a Sentai reference. And they're part of the summer seasonal event of years past. I just can't remember. Not Prism Rangers, but it's like. Prime Color Rangers or something. There's a Well, I guess they're not prime. One's black, one's red, one's yellow. I guess they did black because they don't wanna do blue. I don't know why. Oh hey, we got some absolute chads here. Demon. Arch demon. Ooh. Yeah, just get over here. My dog's coming to see me, so. But you may be noticing this floor set's going remarkably fast compared to the others. This has both to do with the fact that it's just an easier floor set overall, but also just the fact that we actually do have a pretty strong Aether pool relative to the floor set we're on, so that's kind of nice. It'd be even nicer if we could get another silver before we go up. Now, it's been a while, so I don't exactly remember, but I think every boss floor after 451 has a small chance to give you a weapon and armor upgrade at the same time. And again, like 450, the floor 100 boss is guaranteed to give you a armor and weapon upgrade, so that's kind of nice. If we weren't alone, we could pop a Rage Commander and have someone else open the chest and take the Manticore form up a floor. Of course, that wouldn't do us any good on this particular boss, but it could be useful on other floors. The Black Rider. Ooh. Got a nice, like, temple to a giant crystal. This guy's not much to write home about. He does Big Puddle that inflicts bleeding, and he'll dash into you, and the dash will do a knockback. So you can cancel that out with Arm's Length or Surecast. And then if you didn't have Arm's Length or Surecast, just make sure you don't get knocked into one of those balls that spawns at the side of the arena. There will always be a blank space for you to go to, so you know, it's not hard to deal with. If he's hitting you a little bit hard, you might consider using the Sustaining Potion. I do have 60 of those. I'm trying to save them, so. I guess this guy counts as undead. I'm not really sure. There's another Pomander we can get that does an exceptionally high amount of damage to undead. Oh no. Woo! I wish they did a better job on the horses in this game. They all have that same mane. And, I mean, I guess they look okay. Personally, I think they look a little floofy. And, getting a little distracted here. My dog is tearing up one of her chew toys. Which, I mean, I suppose that's what it's for, but I'm always worried she's tearing into my bedding again. She's a young dog, so sometimes she does stuff still that she's not supposed to. Be sort of worrisome. Aether, the great catalyst, the building block from which all creation is born, capable of reconstituting flesh through sheer will. How fortuitous that I should be pulled from oblivion and continue my work in this world. More fortuitous still that I should find a specimen, as fine a specimen as her. Ominous, mysterious. Lobby. And now this is what the lobby for the rest of the Palace of the Dead will look like. Well, almost. For a while, this is what it will look like. This mausoleum with purple runes around the edge and whatnot. Obviously, there's enough time to go into the next floor set, but personally, you know, it could take longer than the last one, and we're already over half time, so we can just, you know, go away for now, and I can have a shorter video, I guess, and one that doesn't end abruptly. Sorry about that from last time. But, something that always gets me is that your gear actually doesn't matter while you're in Palace of the Dead. So you don't take any durability damage. So there's nothing to ever repair when you go through Palace of the Dead. Even if you die, even if you wipe. So you never have to repair coming out of there. And it always throws me for a loop. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to bring this to a close. Thank you for watching. I'm going to do 51 to 60 on the other slot to upgrade my Aether pool again. And then, you know, the next recording will be 61 to 70. I'll see if I still feel like showing beyond 100 once we actually get there. I really don't want to spend too many videos on Palace of the Dead, because it would be really easy to get carried away with them. But at the same time, I do want to show it off a little bit. You know, I want to show off the aesthetic. I want to show off, you know, the dungeon itself. I want to show off the bosses. And you'll have seen every boss there is to see with every boss's mechanics by floor 100, with some small caveats and changes for the ones that are over 100. Like for instance, the floor 90 boss, it has the there's a stronger version of it at floor 190, and it also has the added effect that if you get caught in the telegraphs of the 190 version, you get frozen solid. So the 190 version is obviously a lot more dangerous. Yeah, it deals worlds more damage, and also just the fact that if you get caught in anything, you get frozen solid. You can't act for 20 seconds. So stuff like that, you know, like. But you'll have seen the basic premise. You'll seen what type of monster the boss is going to be. You'll see what type of ads it has. You'll see exactly how the fight goes when I do the floor 90 version. So there's not a lot of point in me killing myself going out of my way to show floors, you know, 151 to 200. But I would like to show what they look like, or what that floor set looks like, because all the floors are identical in appearance. There's just the one thing I wouldn't be able to show is, unless I just, you know, actually do it, is every single monster type and you know, like patrolling monster and whatnot, and of course floor 200 itself, which floor 200 is the Conqueror's floor. You get a fire crest or a glass pumpkin, and if you hear squeaking, that's my dog. She's ripped the squeaker out of this stuffed squirrel that she's eviscerated. And well, anywho, there's no boss on floor 200. You're the boss by that point. You've proven you've mastered the Palace of the Dead, or that your group has mastered the Palace of the Dead. If you get to floor 200 by yourself, you get a unique title called Necromancer. And it's a very rare title because getting floor 200 in Palace of the Dead is difficult. So, although less difficult these days. I might give it a try on Clyde. Although I obviously won't show... I'm not going to record every single floor set, you know, multiple times. Or I'm not going to, you know, devote so much to the Let's Play to this that like I just have like a slew of like 10 chapters of Palace of the Dead. It's bad enough that it's going to be like 4 or 5 as it is. So, anywho, thanks for watching, and next time we'll do 61 to 70. And, we'll, you know, just carry on. So, stay safe and have a good day.